Hey guys, Doyle here. My goal in this video is just to give you a very quick overview of GMU and how to do some basic migrations from one environment to the next. So I have a source gateway and a destination gateway. My source gateway is here, represented with some miscellaneous services. I have some JDBC connections, cluster-wide properties, other items as well. So he is SSG83. My destination gateway is SSG83B. He is clean. He has a system directory with both the WSMan and RESTman services in here. Notice that he does not have any JDBC connections for this test. GMU does require RESTman to be deployed, so that is a prereq that needs to be done. So our first migration scenario is we are going to migrate everything from the source over to the destination. So you'll need to migrate to or change directories over to where the GMU is installed. Mine is installed here. If you run the command with no arguments next to it, it kind of gives you a list of, or it does give you a list of commands that you can run with it. The commands that we're interested in right now is migrate out. If you run migrate out without any arguments, it gives you a list of the potential arguments that you can pass in. So let's go ahead and run the migrate out command with our arguments. I actually have an arguments file before I do that. So I have a file here called arg files, and then underneath here I have two files that specify the argument, so I don't have to keep writing them every time I issue the command. These ones are like the host name, my username and password to connect. That is an encoded password. And some of the other required arguments that are needed to be passed at the command line. So those are all here, and I store those here. And you reference those with -z, and you know that because down here it specifies that that's one of the potential arguments that we can use to pass in. So we're going to be taking advantage of that because it is very nice to have. So arguments, here is our argument. So now we're going to be migrating out. What do we need to migrate out? All is an option, so we're going to be migrating all. And our destination is, what do we want to call this export? So I'm going to call this all_1.xml. So it looks like we have everything. All the connectivity information is in that arguments file. We're migrating out all. And later on I'll show you how to migrate out just a single service, but for now we'll just do everything so we can populate our destination gateway. So we'll go ahead and execute that command. Let it do its magic. It is done. So now I should have this all file down there created, which by default is a single XML file that represents the export. And if you go down to the bottom, we have these mapping properties, and we'll kind of get it a little more into that next. Notice that this mapping action is new or existing. So what that means is if we don't modify this file and we import this directly as is, which is actually what we're going to do, for each one of those entities where the mapping action is new or existing, if it does not exist, it'll create a new entity and migrate it over. If it does exist, it'll just map to it and it won't modify the destination entity. So that's the default migrate out behavior. So now we'll go ahead and migrate in. And what migrate in requires is we need to know what bundle, which the bundle was the destination from the migrate out file. So we need to tell it what bundle. We'll give it our connectivity information. And I think that is it. So, or we could specify that. Oh, interesting. Okay. Destination folder. We're not going to use that because we're going to be going into root. All right, so let's do this. So migrate in. We want our bundle, which is all. We need to know our connectivity files, which is going to be B. And let's just try that and see what we messed up on. Nope, it's good. So awesome, migrate in successful. And you'll notice if you are familiar with CMT, the RESTman interface is a lot faster. So that is definitely a big pro. All right, so everything is now migrated in. So we can confirm that by logging into our destination gateway, which is B here. All right, so everything is now here. Also take note that our data source is here as well. Notice his username is test1 and the password is test1. All right. So now the next thing that we can do, so now everything is working as expected. So now let's go to our source gateway and let's do some modifications, and then I will show you how we handle those during migration. All right, so the first thing we'll do is I'll just pick a service down here called this test service, and I'll modify this that says Doyle was here. I'll save that. We'll also, let's go down here and modify our data source. I want to modify the username and password. So this one, I want this to be Doyle, and the password will be Doyle. Very secure. All right. So the goal here is I want to migrate my services and I want to update them, my services only, on the destination environment. But all of my dependencies or non-service entities, I want them to remain the same. I do not want them to be affected on the destination. So that is our first use case. So to do that, we'll go ahead and come back up here to our migrate out command. And I'm going to call this one all2. So this is going to migrate everything out. So all of our updates will come out with this bundle. So if I were to attempt to import this directly right now, the default action for migrate out, the default mapping action is new or existing. So this guy, yeah, so new or existing. So that means if the entity exists on the destination, it will not be modified. So if I were to attempt to import this bundle as is right now into my destination environment, nothing is going to be changed. So what I want to do is I want to modify my services that are in the bundle, I want them to be updated. So so we have this that's called mappings. So there's this other command called manage mappings, which is shown here. So if we run this, it'll kind of tell you the items that we need. You specify what bundle that we're wanting to modify. We provide what we want to the entity targets that we're looking for. So that would be represented by type or -t. And then what we want to modify that action to be here. And here are your different values that you can put. For us, we'll do update. I want to modify the default action for my services to be update instead of new or existing for this specified bundle. So that command will look something like this. So manage mappings. Manage mappings is plural. Yep. What's our target bundle? I'm gonna do all 2. That was the second export that we just did. I want to target type service. All your services are listed here, or all your options of entity types are listed here. One of them is service, so that's what I am looking for. And we want to change that action to update. All right, so let's run that. So remember earlier I went into that JDBC connection and I changed the username and password from test1 to Doyle. So if this works as expected whenever I do the import or whenever I do the migrate in, that should remain the same as being test1 and not be modified to contain Doyle. But the service or the policy, the service that I modified was test, and I had a return template response in there that I modified that string value to be Doyle was here. So that should take effect because it is considered a service, and right now the mapping action is update. And so that takes effect inside of the bundle itself. So if I go down here to this bundle all and you look at it, if you go down to the bottom of the bundle, you'll see the different mapping actions for everything. Everything will be new or existing except for the things that are service type, and it'll be new or update will be the value that it contains. Let's see if I can find one real quick. Let's just search for new or update. Next. All right, here we go. So yeah, they're at the top. So these are all your service types. So yeah, new or update, type is service. So all right, so now let's go ahead and do a migrate in. Specify what bundle we want to use. Specify the connectivity arguments, which I have stored here. And yes, that should be it. If not, it'll let us know what we messed up on. Looks like it is importing. All right, the migrate in was successful. So let me log out of my source gateway, log into my destination gateway. And so what I'm expecting here is under that test service, the return template response should be Doyle was here, as we see it here. And the JDBC connection, the username and password should remain test1 and test1 for the password instead of being modified like we did on the source gateway. So that is a quick demo on how to do all. So now let's say I just want to migrate out one service and migrate it over. So let's say we created a new service on the source. All right, so let's publish a new service. We'll call this one test 2. All right, we'll have a return template response in here. All right, we'll call him test 2. All right, so brand new service that was created on the source that does not exist on the destination. So let us now migrate him out and migrate him over. To add to this, I'll go ahead and let's say he does reference a JDBC connection. So I can show you how we handle that. I'm gonna map him to connection. Select all from all. Very efficient query. All right, save that guy. So now let's migrate out a single service. So what we do is we do migrate out. Let's look and see what some of our options are. Last time we specified all, but this time we do not want to specify all. If you go down here and look at this one, you can do service, which is expecting the service ID to be populated out next to it, or you can specify service name, which is the name of the service, and in this case, it's actually the path to the service. So let's do that. So let's say migrate out from this gateway, and I want to migrate out test 2, and I want to store him in a bundle called test2.xml. So let's see if we messed up. Nope, everything seems to be working good. It exported. So now we have this file called test2.xml, which contains our service that we have. If you go down to the bottom of the file, you'll notice a mappings section. And in here we have our JDBC connection. Right now it's new or existing. And here it is, our folder is new or existing. There is a folder. So, and then we have our service, which is new or existing. So technically, if I attempted to migrate this in right now, nothing will be modified because everything is new or existing. No, I apologize. The service will be created, but nothing else will be modified. So let's try that. So let's do a migrate in. We want to migrate into this gateway, B. I want to use this bundle called test2 and run that guy. All right, so our migrate in was successful. So let's go ahead and log out of our source gateway, log into our destination gateway. We should have a new service down here called test2, which we do. Test2 will be referencing a JDBC connection here. Now, the JDBC connection should not be modified. It still contains our test1 user ID that it originally did when we migrated it over. So that is an example of a migration from a single service that didn't exist. So now for the last use case, we're going to migrate a single service that already exists. So this will represent an update to one service that we want to migrate. So let's modify test2 to say, I wish I was test3. All right, so we want to migrate this guy, but we still do not want the JDBC connection to be touched, which by default it should not be touched, but we'll see. So let's migrate out. All right, so let's migrate out test2. We're going to call him test2_1, so we know that he's new. Pass in those arguments, grab him. All right, so the difference here is now that the mapping action, everything is new or existing. So since it already exists on the destination, nothing will be modified. So what we have to do is we have to manipulate that mappings file to change it from new or existing to new or update. And so we do that via the manage mappings command. We want to modify this bundle, and we want to target the services that are in that bundle, which is just one service, and we want to change the action to update. So let's do that. All right, you notice here that one service was modified and the action was changed to update, or new or update. So now we can migrate that file or that bundle in. So let me specify my arguments, which are here. What bundle I want to use, which is going to be the test2_1. And that is it. So we'll go ahead and migrate him in. So now what we're expecting to see is our test2, his return template response should now contain, I wish I was test3. So, all right, so he is here. I wish I was test3. And as last time, our JDBC connections username was not modified. So there you go. Yep, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.